It's hump day.
Hump day!
It's hump day.
Hump day!
Hey everybody, this is Bradley Benner with Semantic Mastery. This is Hump Day Hangouts, episode 101. And we've got Adam on briefly. He's traveling, so he's going to join us from the airport. We got Hernan and Marco, so I'm going to go right down the list. Hey, Adam.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? Sorry. Yeah, cheers. Tough day here. But, yeah, I'm at the airport and wanted to hop in and say hi to everybody and let you guys go with it. I'm just going to listen in and be in the background.
Life's good.
Yeah, life is good, man. Traveling, drinking, on the job.
Getting work done, but, yeah.
Hernan, how are you?
Hey guys, what's up? It's really good to be here, and not as fine as Adam, but I'm well.
Yeah.
Doing well.
Some of us have to work for a living, don't we?
Yeah, well, it is what it is, you know.
And last but not least, Marco, how are you, man?
Good. Getting better, man. Foot's better.
Good. All right, so as far as announcements, we don't have much today other than local Kingpin launches in 2 weeks from yesterday. So we're like 13 days out from that launch. The product is massive. There's going to be a lot to go through, and I'm having super success with the method that I'm using for that. That will be revealed in the training, but it's working really, really well. On-demand lead generation, that's what it is. Local Kingpin on-demand lead generation, and I turned this funnel on about a week ago, and we've had like 9 leads in the last week. In the last 2 days alone, we've had 6 leads. So it's crazy that it just works so damn well, and that's what we're going to be sharing inside the local Kingpin training that launches on the 25th. So if you're interested in that, we're going to be doing a special promotion right before the launch. So it's going to be like a pre-launch promotion. I highly recommend you guys get on our subscriber list if you're not already. Most of you probably are, but that way you'll get notification about the special pre-launch offer, okay?
And I was going to say, too, for this one, there's a special kind of deal here where, you're talking about traffic generation, and if anybody out there who listens to us and has bought our courses, if you know people who are wanting to get into this and, want on-demand traffic, like for a lot of people getting into this is a really hard thing to do. So, if you want to sign up and promote our products, by all means, please do that. I mean, if you've joined any of our courses, you know how good they are. And so I think this is a really cool entry point for someone to come in and to be able to get this training instead of, having to learn a lot of the steps on themselves. This is no joke, like you said, it's traffic generation like that.
Yeah. All right.
We're gonna, sorry, Bradley, but we're gonna put, if you guys want to sign up as a JV and promote it, as Adam was saying, we're gonna put the URL on the events page so that you guys can sign up and get everything like banners, swipes, files, everything's gonna be there. So I'm gonna put that over the event page in a second. So.
Yep. Cool. Do we have anything else we need to discuss before we get into questions? We've got a lot of questions.
Let's do it.
Okay, cool. Let's do it. I'm going to grab the screen. Episode 101. That's awesome. So we're only, 3 weeks away from the big one that we're going to do with the big giveaway and all that stuff for our two-year anniversary. So you guys make sure you're there too. Okay, we're going to start with Ryan at the bottom. He says, hey, Bradley, do you use Crowdsearch for maps? I saw they have an advanced local map search option, and I don't think that was available back when I saw your training video. Yes, Ryan, I do. It's cool because what it'll do is it'll click on the map listings in the 3-pack if it's there. If it's not there, it'll click on the See More Listings button, and it'll open up Google Maps, and then it will go find the listing and click on it so that then it pulls it into Maps, and then from there it can navigate to the site from the maps listing, so it can click on the website link and go to the maps or the actual website itself, and then it can still do the internal browsing from there. So it is something that I use, and it does help. There's no doubt. The problem with the only thing that the issue that I see with the Crowdsearch for maps is that you have to pretty much hyper target, like you have to narrow down, drill down to the specific geographic location. And that ends up using a ton of credits, but you don't need a lot of click-throughs for that. You don't need a lot of search and click-throughs for that to be effective. What you need is just to have it consistent over time. It's not something that you want to like jam a whole bunch of click-throughs in a couple weeks. You want to spread it out with just a handful of them over a 30-day period and just leave it be. And over time, it'll start to improve. It helps to improve. It's just another signal that you're sending to Google. Okay. And Dan has training inside the Crowdsearch dashboard now for that, Ryan. So just check it out. If you're inside, if you have Crowdsearch, you can check out the training and he'll explain how to do it. It's simple to set up. So.
Yeah. And for anyone looking to buy, you have to get on the waiting list if you go straight to the website. But
Awesome.
we have a backdoor hack.
There you go.
I posted it. So if you want to go there, go ahead, join. It works great.
Greg's next. He says, I've added several additional blogs to my IFTTT network. For each post, I'm concerned about having 15 plus network properties using the exact same anchor text back to the category page. Here's what I've done to diversify the anchor text. This takes less than 5 minutes. In my post content, I use long anchor text linking up to the category page. When I publish a post, I activate 4 of the IFTTT recipes. Then I take a word out of the anchor text in the post and activate a few more and repeat. Okay. The result is the syndicated post on the network ends up with 5 versions of anchor text back to the category page. The category page. Do all the syndicated posts need to have the exact anchor text linking back to the category page? Thanks. Not really. First of all, I mean, Greg, if you're just managing one site and you want to go through all that, that's great. Continue, just keep doing what you're doing. Personally, I think that's way too much manual work. The whole point of the networks is to automate a lot. Well, at least in my opinion, is to automate stuff. So I wouldn't go through all that. But if you're doing that and you seem to be getting good results with it, guys, we encourage you to test. So if you're cool with doing some additional manual work every time you do a post, hey, so be it. Do it. Do what you do. As far as with 5 different anchor texts, I would be a little bit concerned with it only because if you're syndicating a post with an attribution link, but some of the posts are different, then it's not an actual copy of the original post, right? It's an edited version of it. So I don't know that it's going to cause you any issues. It's not something I've tested. I'll let the other guys chime in and think because I'd like to hear their opinion on this as well. But typically when you're syndicating a post, it should be an exact match of the original with a link, with you citing the source with an attribution link. Okay. If you edit the page, then, well, let's put it this way. You're not supposed to be editing other people's content when you when you cite other people's content in curated posts, for example, because you're not supposed to edit their content. And then, you know what I mean? You're supposed to post the original as it was intended. But I don't know that that's going to cause you any issues, as it's not something I've tested. What do you guys think?
This is a question that I've gotten 3 times already this week, about footprints with IFTTT. Yeah, because we had, some people ping me via PM, and then we have Greg here, and I think it was on Matt Diggity blog where, we had a conversation and he posted it about IFTTT and whatnot. And the reality is that, guys, we are using highly traffic, highly authority websites, Some people will tell me, well, if I'm doing a PBN, wouldn't it be a footprint if I post to, if I make an IFTTT network around the PBN and I would post to Twitter, Facebook, and Google+? And I would say no, because, those are the 3 biggest social networks in the world, maybe, So my point on this would be that do not sweat it that much in terms of footprints, because what you are doing is syndicated content out. And we are doing it with highly traffic, and there's millions upon millions of people using those networks. So and I also think that Google's have better things to do. But the reality is that do not sweat it. And if you are really, really worried about that, then just go ahead and switch a couple of networks. You do not need to use every single network. Instead of 20, you can use, I don't know, maybe 15 or something like that. Again, we have a blueprint that has been working for 3 years now, maybe more. And it's still going strong. I don't see anything wrong with sharing, because that's exactly what we are doing. With that said, this doesn't imply that you should not be doing some manual work on your social networks, because that's another thing that I've gotten, if you post automatically to Twitter or to Facebook, you're misusing the platform. And by any means, if your audience is big on Twitter, post via IFTTT, but then do some manual work. You know, get somebody managing your Twitter, or you manage your Twitter. It's not, this is a complementary strategy. You know, it's something that will go in really, really well with whatever content marketing that you're doing, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be doing some manual posts to your Facebook page, for example, if people are big in Facebook, you know, if your audience is on Facebook. So I wouldn't sweat it a lot, because this is just, you know, trying to share content in as many platforms as possible. And just remember that we have only 3 or maybe 5 contextual links, out of 20 platforms, you know. So
well, and let me jump on that for a minute, because first of all, he said he added several additional blogs to his network. So what I was going to say was, before I read that first part, when we syndicate a post, guys, to a branded network, let's say there's 20 properties in the network. The networks that I build, I still just use Blogger, Tumblr, and WordPress as my 3 blogs. That's it. I don't add Medium. I don't add what's the other one? Weebly. I don't use Weebly very often. So I just use the 3 main ones: Blogger, Tumblr, WordPress. Those are your only 3 contextual links, other than your cloud storage links, but those aren't quite the same. They're not counted quite the same. So you only get 3 anchor text links pointing back from any post syndication anyways, unless you're doing what Greg said he's done here, and that's adding additional network or blog accounts to your network, which I don't recommend. I've never recommended that. I always recommend sticking with a branded network and that only. And if you're going to add additional blogs, do it on a 2-tier based system, but then you end up having additional related content triggers in as a tier 2 triggers. Okay. And we talk about that in the training extensively as to why we do that, so that you can reduce. You can't eliminate, but you can reduce a footprint. But that's why we stress over and over and over again to just use a branded network for content syndication or blog syndication, because then you don't have to worry about, first of all, you only have 3 to 5, right? 3, 4, or 5 total anchor text backlinks from any post syndication, number 1. Number 2, it's not a footprint because it's a branded property. It's an extension of your brand. All you're doing is sharing your content to your profiles on other platforms. That's it. So there's no footprint issues. The footprint issues come in when you start to try to game the system by adding additional blogs or adding 2-tier networks for blog syndication without additional content triggers to kind of minimize or mask your footprint. Okay. So again, guys, I encourage you to test, there's no doubt. But, you know, as far as what we consider to be best practices, we teach you guys or tell you guys in the training courses what we think the best practices are. You're free to do whatever it is you want to do beyond that. But personally, I wouldn't do what you're doing here, Greg, for, number 1, because of the manual aspect of it. I don't like manual work if I can avoid it if at all possible, or I'll hire a VA to do the manual part. But as far as adding additional blogs to the network, I really don't recommend doing that. If you're going to add additional blogs, put them on tier 2 and make sure you have additional content triggers so that you can populate those additional blogs with other content besides just your own. Okay.
If I can just add for a second, sure. I've been sharing our announcement, right, that HDHO, that our Hump Day Hangouts are about to take place. I don't know, I've done it on Fridays. Now I'm down to doing it like 2 hours before, which I've seen that it has the greatest effect. And it's always, when I go and post to all of our groups and publicly in Facebook and to everything in Google, all of our groups and publicly, it's the same exact post with Google shortened links. Exact. I mean, everything is the same. Nothing changes. And we have never had any issue. And this is since I see the first tracking that we have is from April 1st of 2015. So here we are, October 2016, no issues. Same exact content being published all over. Google getting access to the analytics from these posts, so it knows exactly what the content is on those posts. So I don't see any problem.
I agree. Good question though, Greg. But next one is Michael Franks. He says, hi all. Now that Google is doing advanced verification in San Diego for plumbers and locksmiths to ensure they have an actual physical location storefront, when and how do you think it will affect our lead gen sites for tree service, doctors, and others if we're using PO boxes as addresses? I don't know yet, Michael. We just roll with the punches if and when they start rolling that out nationwide. you know, coming to a city near you, that kind of stuff. When that happens, we'll deal with it. Right now, I'm not sweating it because, guys, I don't worry about what if. Okay, I just don't worry about what if because there's too many what if scenarios out there to worry about. I'd never get anything done. So I'm just going to keep rolling with exactly what works right now, as we always do in the SEO world. And when it stops working, we'll find another hack, another workaround, another method, right? So until, like, fortunately, I don't do anything in San Diego. I also don't do anything with locksmiths. Some plumbers, but not locksmiths. So hopefully I won't have to worry about that for a while. Hopefully none of us have to worry about that for a while. If you're in San Diego, sucks. That sucks. But I'm sure there's workarounds, guys. It's just a matter of figuring out what it is and making it happen, okay? Next question. I purchased a customwebs.com domain based on your suggestion last week. Thank you. Does a custom domain like this carry the same DA and ranking power as a subdomain on the root site? That's a good question, Michael. Technically, no. If you were to look at the actual domain with like Majestic or Ahrefs or whatever, you're going to see that the metrics are not the same. However, I still seem, the metrics may not be the same, but I've been able to rank custom domains with Google sites that were mapped to Google sites as if they were still Google sites, right? As if they were still on the Google domain, because technically they're still hosted on the Google domain, right? You just are mapping your own custom domain to it. So although the metrics don't show the metrics that the Google domain would have, I still get the same ranking power as you put it here. I still see the same end result, which is to rank the site. So, and as Marco and we have really started to preach, guys, the metrics aren't everything anymore. It's more about relevancy. You know, and so personally, I don't really care what the metrics say as long as I can get the end result, which is to get it to rank. And so as far as using a custom domain to webs, I'm assuming, I've never done anything with webs that I can remember, but I'm assuming that you'll still see the same or similar type of results as when you map a domain to a Google site or to, like, for example, an Amazon S3 bucket. If you're hosting an HTML site on an Amazon S3 bucket and you do a custom domain for that, same thing. I get better results with a custom domain hosted on either Google sites or you know, mapped to either Google sites or an Amazon S3 bucket than I would with just a standard domain with a regular hosting, if that makes sense. What's your take on it, guys?
I would tell him to look at the canonical or look at whether it was 301, because one or the other had to happen. And either way, he's still getting benefits from webs.com.
Yeah. That's a good point. Look at Michael. That's a really good point. I forgot to mention that, because when you do it with Google sites, if you map a custom domain to a Google site, and then you go look at the Google site URL, which is not a subdomain, it's an actual subdirectory. But if you go look at this at the URL, go look at that page on the Google domain, and then view page source. Right-click view page source, and you'll see the rel equals canonicals pointing to the custom domain. So what I'm saying is, and like Marco just mentioned, is you're actually pushing the relevancy over to, you're telling Google, or you're telling them, hey, all the credit goes over to this domain over here. So you should still get the same results, even if the metrics don't pass. Does that make sense?
And yeah, and it shouldn't be any different, because he'll still be using webs as a CMS.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
so
and they know that.
Yeah, and so it should flow upward. There'll still be some loss, but it won't be significant.
All right, next one is Ben. He says, Bradley, my question is similar to Michael's. If I'm setting up lead gen sites outside my local area, how does one deal with the address issue for citations? I'm guessing Google knows a UPS store box is not a real address. Well, maybe so, but I mean, if you can still get away with it, which you can at the currently, then you can still do it. So what I do, guys, and we've talked about this, is I do service-based businesses, and when you're using a spam address, guys, when I say spam address, like when I mean a PO box, UPS address, a virtual mailbox, whatever, any one of those, or they're spam addresses because they're not actual physical locations where a business is housed, right? It's just a place to collect mail. So if you're using one of those, you should only be using one of those if you have a service-based business, where there's a service area. You, the business, goes to the customer location, not the customer comes to your location. And so once you set up your listing inside of Google My Business, there's a checkbox that says, I serve customers at their location. You check that box after you've received your postcard and verified the listing. then you go, you leave it, you leave your address show initially when you set up your Google My Business listing. Once you receive the card and you verified it, then you go in and edit it and uncheck the box to hide your location. And what it will do is remove the street address and just put the city and the phone number in the description area or whatever of the listing. Okay. From there, that's all you do with the Google listing. For all your other citations, there are very few citation sites out there that I'm aware of that will allow you to add a citation without a physical address, a street address. And so I just put all my, I use whatever address it is that I got. Typically I use PO boxes with the street address option. I just use those on all the other directory sites because I don't care that data is out there. The Google listing doesn't show it. So what difference does it make? And I don't get a lot, other than Yelp, I don't get a lot of traffic from a lot of the other directory sites. So it's not something that I'm worried about. So I'm just letting you know, my whole entire lead gen business is built on that model, and it works, and it still works today. I don't know how long it's going to work, but I've been saying that for years. So, hopefully 4 years from now, I'll still be saying that. Okay. Don't worry about it, man. Just hide your address. So service-based business, after you've verified your listing, or check the box that says I serve customers at their location, and then just use whatever address it is that the real address that you got for your card, your postcard. Use that across all other directory listings. Okay, if it gives you the option to hide your address on those other directories, then you can hide your address. But most of them do not even give you that option. So you just use whatever address you have. Next, also I noticed that using the plus feed dot whatever G plus feed RSS feed it creates pulls from the area where the articles are posted, not the videos. It didn't look like there was anything you could do about it on the FroAsk page. Is this how it is? No videos? Well, Ben, it's not that it, look, when you post to your Google Plus profile or to your page, either way, you're not posting videos. I mean, you might be posting videos, but you're posting a Google Plus post. So it's not that it's going to pull in just a video URL from your Google Plus feed. It's going to pull the Google Plus post URL in whatever's contained in that post URL. So I saw this question earlier, so I prepared this because I want to prove what I'm trying to say here. This will make more sense if I can demonstrate it. So give me 1 second. Come on, Firefox. All right, so I've got a page feed here using that same service that you just mentioned. This is our Semantic Mastery page feed. I created this using that service. Here's our post, guys. This is the one that we're actually doing right now, okay? And you can see it pulls in the thumbnail image, and if you hover over the title, guys, if you look down in the bottom left corner, I know it's small on your screen. Let me zoom in a little bit. If I hover over the title, you'll see that it links to the Google Plus post URL. So if I open link a new tab, it's going to take us to the Google Plus post URL where the video resides. Okay, and I've cleared my cookies. So, anyways, don't worry about that. But the video resides in the Google Plus post. Right? So it's just the way an RSS feed should be. The RSS feed doesn't include, if any RSS feed doesn't include the items in the post. I mean, it may also display the items in the post, but the actual link to the title always links back to the post itself, not to the items that are contained within the post. Does that make sense? So what's cool is that you can see that the actual, for example, this one, you can see the title, Weekly SEO Hump Day Hangouts Episode 100 Replay. Well, this gives us an actual direct link from that post directly to there. So if I click on this, what's this do? This takes us directly to the video. So we still end up getting a link, excuse me, we still end up getting a link back to our video from the Google Plus post, okay? And that's, so again, all it's going to do, the RSS feed, is it's just going to pull in the Google Plus post, which is fine, guys, because building links to Google Plus posts is still very valuable. It's very powerful. Here's a profile one. Here's one done on, this is my profile. So again, you can create an RSS feed from Google Plus pages and from profiles. And here it is. Okay. So, and again, any one of these titles, guys, is going to link directly over to an actual Google Plus post. See? All right, hopefully that helps. Chris says, hey guys, in a complex silo structure, do you use the exact keywords you want to rank for as the anchor text linking back up to the category page? Can you use the same anchor text more than once on different subcategory pages linking to the category page? Yes, Chris, you can. Just remember, internal links don't have to apply to this. it's not, they don't have to abide by the same, you know, criteria, I guess, that off-page links, you know, inbound links do. So you can get away with doing a lot more aggressive. I would still vary it somewhat though, if you can. If you have LSIs and things like that, I would, or you know, longer tail variations and things like that, I would still add some diversity to your internal linking structure as well. But yeah, you can get away with doing a lot more direct, you know, exact match keyword anchor text as internal links. Okay. In an important branch subcategory of this complex silo, does it help or hurt to have the subcategory page that, or excuse me, does it help or hurt that subcategory page when we link back up to the main category page? Thanks a lot. Well, no, you should. In a subcategory page, you should. Guys, if you're using a complex silo structure, should I break out the diagram, guys? Should I break out Snagit? Do we have time for that or no?
Well, we have a bunch of questions still.
Yeah, I don't think we have time right here.
Yeah, and I think that you have gone through that. So probably, you know, if Chris would go and search complex silo structure on our YouTube channel, he will get the diagram. So
yeah. So guys, when you're using a complex silo structure, you're going to have a top level category, and then you're going to have child categories, which are your subcategories, right? Or child pages, which are subcategories. And then you're going to have posts. The posts are going to be specific to each subcategory, right? So what you can do is, I always suggest that you link from each post up to the subcategory page, and you can also link to other posts within the same silo if you want. It's not necessary, but you can if you want, if it makes sense. Don't force it, but if it makes sense, if there's a natural occurrence where a link would make sense, you know, then to link to another post within the same silo, go ahead and do it. But always link back up to the subcategory page. Well, the subcategory page should be linking to the category page, right? Because that's how you get that buoyancy. That's how you get all that juice to flow up from at any point in the silo, from any inbound links that point to any post or any page in that entire silo structure. All that juice is going to flow up to the main category page, which is typically the broadest of keywords and the most competitive. So the only way to push all that relevancy up to that page is through your internal linking structure. So you want to make sure that you link from subcategory page to the category page, and then from your posts to your subcategory page, right? And then guys, you can also link directly from posts to your category page. If it makes sense. I don't necessarily, you know, typically you're going to link to your subcategory page because it's more specific, it's more narrow. But, you know, if it makes sense, you can always link back up, because again, it's just about pushing all the relevancy from each individual silo back up to the main category page. Okay. That was quicker than drawing a diagram, right?
It was.
Matt's next. What do you guys do in terms of rel equals canonical for your blog post prior to syndication? What are your views about that? Best way to safeguard from any type of penalty? Matt, we do nothing, because rel equals canonical goes in the header. So if you put it in the header of your post, and in your post syndicates, your header doesn't get syndicated. Only the body of the post gets syndicated. So adding a rel equals canonical to your header on your post where you originally published it isn't going to help on your syndication post. But that's what the attribution link is for. It's the next best thing. If we could add rel equals canonical to our post, we would, but we're not unable to do that because the header doesn't get syndicated. So therefore, we do the next best thing, which is the attribution link. Okay. Is there even a penalty for duplicate content anymore? There's never been a penalty for duplicate content on other domains, guys. It's only on the same domain. You get penalized for duplicate content on the same domain. Okay. If you got penalized for duplicate content, then all the sharing in the world would just cause problems for everybody. Sharing content on social media sites would cause problems. Press releases wouldn't work. We all know that press releases work, and they work well. It's always the same content. When a press release gets syndicated to 350 media sites, is it rewritten? Is it spun? No, it's not. It's the same content. It's duplicate content. Does it cause problems? No, it works. So I know the reason I ask is after reading this article, I'm a little confused. Well, I get that, Matt. I get that. And there's conflicting information out there, guys, but, you know, just test. I mean, don't take our word for it. If, you know, test is all I can say. And when you're syndicating your content to a branded ring of properties, guys, all you're doing is sharing your content to extended or your profiles on social media and Web 2.0 properties, right? They're extensions of your brand. It's your content. You should be sharing them to them. That's what, you know, that's basically what all the big brands do as well, right? That's what we're encouraged to do, is to share our content on social media and drive traffic and give those all important social signals. Well, we're just doing it in an automated fashion. Okay. And again, that's a good question though about the rel equals canonical, but that's the reason why we use attribution links, because there's no way to syndicate the header, at least as far as I know. Larry's next. I'm assuming that Bitly doesn't provide a public profile URL. No, Larry, and that's been covered in the update training, the updates of the IFTTT training. That was specifically covered. They sunsetted their public profile pages. Okay, and that, again, to go check the updates in the IFTTT training, it's there. The same seems to go with Facebook. It appears that there's no longer a place to add our links. Page info doesn't exist. It does. It still exists, Larry. I'm not sure why you're not seeing it, but let's just jump over to Facebook. Oops, I'm already in Facebook. Let's go jump over here for a second, and we'll go to pages. And the most recent page that I published was Get It Done for the training, the SEO train, or the IFTTT SEO Academy training. Come on, Facebook. What are you doing? Okay, now over here, I click on About. Right there, long description. If I click Edit, right there's where I add all my links, guys. So I'm not sure what you're talking about, why you're not seeing it. Just click on the About tab on your page. You should have a long description. You should also have a short description, or a company, whatever it is, the short description and the long description. I usually put the links in the long description, but right there it is.
You can also click on that More tab.
Yeah. What, here? Yeah.
No, up.
What do you mean?
Up the menu. Yeah, More, and then you get all that edit, the edit page, and page info should be somewhere in there.
Right there, description. So are you guys seeing the pop-up or no?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. So it's still there. Okay. You said IFTTT v2 lesson 11 that if I wanted someone else to access my YouTube channel or go to my Google Plus page, I don't have to give out my main Google account login details. However, correct me if I'm wrong, but are they not all the same, or are you talking about creating a totally new account for that purpose? In my situation, I'm building a brand and they are currently all the same, and I can't see how you get one without the other. Well, Larry, because we talk about building Google pages, right? You have to have a profile to have a page. You can't create a page without having a profile. A profile is a person or a persona. A page is a business or an entity or a brand or a location, right? So in order to create pages, you have to have a profile. So you create pages under a profile, whether it's yours or a persona, it doesn't matter. You just need to create business pages. Then you give access to those pages. You don't give access to your profile, because you will definitely get IP locked for it. It will trigger re-verification. It will lock somebody else out, like a VA or whatever, out, because they're going to be logging in from an unrecognized location, and it's just a real pain in the ass. So instead, you make a Google Plus page login. Now, we have an update webinar coming up either next week or the following week for IFTTT v2, and there was an issue that was covered in the last update webinar where Google Plus page logins were no longer working, and I explicitly mentioned that I believe it was a bug because of the new Google Plus interface, and that it's probably going to be worked out. I don't know. I haven't been back to check on it yet to see if that's been worked out yet. I haven't heard anything back from our builders in the Philippines yet, so I'm assuming that it's either been fixed or that they're still doing the workaround that we had come up with for network orders for people that purchase networks from us. But again, currently there is, at least as of the last webinar that we did for IFTTT SEO Academy v2, that was a bug, or at least I think it was a bug, that you could not create Google Plus third-party login details, which is what it's called. That was missing. Now, that said, I do want to check this. So we're going to go check on pages real quick. I'm still on the old Google Plus interface, guys. In fact, it changed me over today to the new one without me asking, or without asking me, and I switched it back, and it did allow it. Thank God. So, but if we go to here, let's see, we're on the page. Let's see if this is right. I want to go to settings. Excuse me. I might not be the owner of this page, though. I bet you I'm not. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not the owner of this page. I'm just a manager, I think. Yeah, actually I am. See, okay, so it is missing. Guys, I'm sorry. I just wanted to take a look at this real quick to show. Typically, or how it has always been, is on a page, if you're the page owner, which means that page was created under your profile, there's usually a there has been always a third-party login where you can create a third-party login, and it's always around this area here on the settings for the page, and it looks like it's still missing. So unfortunately, but when I get around to creating the training for the next update webinar, I'll dig into this a little bit deeper and see if there's been a fix for that yet, but apparently it looks like there's not. So unfortunately, there's not really a lot we can do other than if you need to have a VA. The workaround that we're doing right now, Larry, just so you know, the workaround is if you have a VA, all you do is go in and add the VA as a manager to your page. Then they can access the page from their own account without any login details. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass for us because we have all our builders in the Philippines, and so when a customer orders now, we have to send them directions on how to add the specific builder to their page as a manager so that we can set up all the recipes the way we're supposed to. But again, the same way, guys, just go to your page, click on manage. Now, if you're the profile, if the page was created under your profile, then you're the page owner, and you can assign managing positions or manager positions to others at your will. Okay, so you have to make sure that you're logged into the profile that owns the page, then go click on the page, then go to managers, and then from there you can go manage permissions and you can add people, right? You see the plus button up here, invite new users, then you add your VA's Gmail address, choose a role, add them as a manager, and then click invite. Then they can go, when they go visit the page next, they'll have a prompt, or they can check their Google Plus, or excuse me, their Gmail settings. I think it shows up in either the primary tab or the social tab. I think it shows up in the primary tab. And they can click on that, and it will, click on the agree or accept the invitation, or they can just go visit the page after they've been invited, and it should have a prompt, like a notification bar that shows up and says, hey, you've been invited to be a manager. Do you accept? That's how easy it is, okay? So unfortunately, we're not, at least it looks like we still can't create the third-party login details right now, but the workaround is just add them as a manager, and then you don't ever have to worry about it anyways because they can log in from their own account. If that you have them doing a specific job and then that's it, then once the job is done, go remove them as managers so that they don't have continuous access. All right? So, that was rather a long question. I don't know I think, Larry, you're having a little bit of confusion about the difference between profiles and pages, and I think hopefully that kind of solved that a bit. As a one-man gang SEO business at this point, I do have Google My Business, but did you say it's good to have both a brand and a business? You mean a brand and a local page or a locations page? If so, would it be best to have just one targeted in a network rank? No, you can target both. Okay, you just need, in order to target both, you need two. Let's see. Let me think about this for a second. You can syndicate to both. You just need to have two separate buffer accounts, I believe. Is that right? Can somebody refresh my memory on that one?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Buffer, I think, will only allow one Google Plus account unless you're on the Pro. Yeah, unless you're in the Pro version. If you're in the Pro version, it will allow more than once. But yeah, in that case, you will need two different buffer accounts.
That's right. So, and guys, just so you understand what we're saying, like, for example, let's go take a look at this. Right here, guys, I'm on brand pages. If we scroll down, we have a Semantic Mastery brand page. So what I want to do is click on that. This is our Semantic Mastery brand page, okay? This is the one that we typically use. We also have a local page. That's what he's asking about here. If I go over to locations, come on, Google. Where do you see Semantic Mastery? Here we go. Okay, so if we go over to locations and take a look at this, we can see that this is our locations page. So we can actually syndicate posts to both. Looks like we haven't been syndicating our locations page, but I really don't care because we don't, I'm not trying to rank this in maps for anything, guys. But if you have both a brand page and a locations page, the difference is you'll notice there's always an address or an address and a phone number on the local page like you see here, okay? And then also there on the about page, there's no links section on local pages or locations pages, but there is on brand pages, okay? But what you can do is syndicate to both. Again, you just need to set up a secondary IFTTT account, okay, and then set up a secondary buffer account. So you connect your locations page through one buffer account to your primary IFTTT account, And then you set up your secondary IFTTT account and buffer account to connect your your brand page. And that way you're syndicating to both. Okay. If you're just focusing on local, then you can skip syndicating to a brand page. I think there's benefits to that, and that's these: having the ability to add links that you don't have on your locations page. But if you're trying to rank in maps, just have it syndicate to your maps location if you only want to do one. Excuse me. When interlinking Blogger, I wasn't able to get my Google Plus badge. Have there been problems with this, or could I be doing something wrong? Larry, probably doing something wrong, because as far as I know, that's still working. I haven't had any issues with it. I can't imagine there being any issues with that. Just go back through the training, follow the instructions exactly as done. I'm not saying you haven't, but try it again. Maybe clear your cache and cookies and try it again. See if maybe there was a browser issue. That can happen sometimes.
Yeah. I just wanted to add real quick, Larry and everyone else that's on the V2 training. We also have the Facebook group for these kind of V2, specific questions. And you will, that way you do not need to wait, up until Wednesday to get your answer. You will get our answer, and the peers, the guys that are in there, the moderators, and the rest of the community that belongs to the V2 training. Okay, so maybe some people that inside of the community that they can really help you out. For you guys, it's not that you cannot come and comment on Hump days, but I think the best way to do this, Larry, would be to join the Facebook group if you're not already there, and post your questions there, because you will have a quicker response. So
Steve's up. He says, I'm an affiliate marketer and I signed up for your course to help me rank product review videos. Here's my question. YouTube says that I'm able to create up to 50 channels under one account. If I want to set different channels under one account within different niches, will that negatively affect the SEO of the videos in the different channels? Of course, each channel would be branded for each niche. Technically, no, Steve. I still don't recommend doing that. And the reason why is because if anything were ever to happen to the profile, right? So the page owner, which would be the profile account, and you've got 50 pages, or YouTube channels in your case, but YouTube channels and Google Plus pages are one and the same, guys, because when you create a YouTube channel, it creates a Google Plus page, right? So my point is if you have 50 pages and or channels under one profile, and anything ever happens to that one profile, you just lost everything. You lost it all. It's rare, guys, that a profile gets terminated. It's not so rare that pages get terminated if you're doing spammy stuff. Pages will get terminated without affecting the profile for the most part, and it's rare that a profile gets terminated. But boy, I wouldn't want to build my whole entire business under one profile, guys, because that's just a recipe for disaster. Okay. And I would hate to see you go through setting all this stuff up, Steve, and then something happens one day where Google just decides what you're doing it doesn't like and closes your account and you lose everything. So what I always recommend is create a separate profile for every channel, or at least, don't put more than 2 or 3 channels, main money channels, under any one profile. That way you just spread your risk. Remember, you can set up, let's say you want to do 50 channels and you set up 50 separate profiles, which is probably how I would do it. But you can always add yourself, Steve Bell, as a page manager, which I just showed you guys how to do that just a few moments ago, right? So you can add your main profile, Steve Bell, as a page manager to all 50 channels that are owned by 50 separate profiles, right? And that way you can still access everything from your login without having to worry about it. But if any one of those profiles ever gets terminated by Google, you only lose one channel. And you still have 49 more generating revenue. So I highly recommend that that's what you do. As far as technically, will those channels, as long as those channels are separated, it shouldn't negatively affect the SEO of another channel under the same profile. It should not, because as long as you keep that particular channel topically themed, you should be fine. Okay. But again, guys, mitigate your risk. Because I've seen too many people lose businesses because they did something silly to save some time, or maybe you didn't know that, Steve, that you could do that. But that's what I recommend that you do, is create different profiles for every channel. That way you're just safer. Ganti says, thanks, guys, for picking me as a winner in the 100th episode. Really appreciate it. Well, you're welcome, Ganti. Thanks for showing up and participating all the time. Zach says, hey, guys, love your stuff and have been following for quite some time. +1 it. This is an idea I've never heard before, but is it possible if other people are copying an original site, Google may see the original site as more valuable and rank it higher. Also, what about uncited quotes of 2 or more sentences? I'm not sure what you mean about Google may see the original site as more valuable and rank it higher, but if other people are copying an original site, the original site should be seen and ranked higher by Google than the copy, the duplicate. Although there's lots of stories out there about like scraper blogs and auto blogs that outrank the original content sources. That happens.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I was about to say that I see it as a race. You know, the first one that gets the content indexed is the one that gets the prize. You know, so some people are just, beating you to it, and they will get rewarded because of that. I mean, there are some churn and burn strategies that work like that. There are also some people going through the archive, the archive content that is not indexed anymore, and using that. I would advise against that, but it's usually, I tend to see it as a race. So if you get indexed, being original, being your original content, and the competitors then copy, they will get demoted or devalued. You know what I mean? But on the other hand, if they have a bigger blog, or because it has happened with biggest major newspapers, that they will rip off an article, and they are CNN, and they will get, even if it's your article, your original article, they'll still have the winning hand because they have all of that authority, etc.
Right.
So that content will get indexed likely faster than yours. So
yeah, and I mean that's, guys, why we use canonicals where possible, but a lot of times we're not unable to do that, so we use attribution links, and that's so that when we publish or republish our posts to other platforms, that the credit gets pushed back to the original source, right? Because we want to benefit the original source as much as possible, and that's why we do that. So the last part of your question is also, what about uncited quotes of 2 or more sentences? I wouldn't do it. I mean, if you quote somebody, first of all, you should make sure that it's very clear that it's a quote, and you should also link to, even if you don't link, like you should link to the profile of the person that you're quoting, or the article that you're quoting, or whatever. You should always cite, guys. That's like the DMCA, Digital Millennium Copyright Act. That's just the rules. If you're going to be using other people's content, even 2 sentences, you should be citing the original source. Give the credit where the credit is due. No, follow the link if you want. If you don't want to pass link equity, fine, but at least link to them, because you should be doing that. It's only ethical, and it's right. Just do it that way. I would not.
Thank you for that last part. Give credit where credit is due.
That's right.
Give people credit when they deserve it. Don't try to steal their shit.
Yep, I agree. All right, next, Earl. When ordering link packages, I've been including keyword plus city name for multiple suburban cities as well as majors. Am I blowing it by including the city names? If I should have the city names, am I blowing it by having suburbs without having separate landing pages for each suburb? Or am I diluting my geo efforts? Yes, Earl, I wouldn't do that, man. When you're submitting keywords for our link building packages, I'm talking about ours. I don't know about other people's, because I don't know where they're building, like what tier, what level they're building at. But the way that we don't build links to money sites, we only build links to IFTTT properties, citations, press releases, YouTube videos, whatever. But we don't build links to money sites. We just won't allow it. It's too much risk on our part, that we don't want to be liable for any issues that may occur. So we do it to your tier 1 properties only. And what we recommend always is that you go with broader terms. You don't need to go with exact match keywords with keyword plus city. I would go with just keyword. Because as the further you get from your final target URL, which would be your money site, the broader you should get with your keywords, right? So you should go with broad keywords, generics, naked URLs, that kind of stuff. So when you're ordering a link building package, go with broad terms, guys. You don't need to go with exact match keywords, because those should be reserved for your tier 1 links and internal links, like on-page links, right? So hopefully that makes sense. I wouldn't do that, Earl. From now on, I would keep it a lot more generic, a lot more broad on those, okay? Because all we're trying to do is push juice into our tier 1 properties. Our tier 1 properties are going to give us all the relevancy we need. All right? We got about 5 more minutes. We're going to try to get through a few more. There's a lot of questions today, guys. We really appreciate it. Rico says, is creating backlinks full mesh a good practice? Can somebody tell me what that means? Anybody know?
Nope.
No idea what full mesh means.
Me neither. Sorry, I don't know what you mean on that, Richard. So I'll carry on with the next one. I've created a page.
Maybe full bore.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I have created a page on my money site about me. Okay. I have added all IFTTT properties and links on this page, so it builds do follow from this page to all properties. All these properties also have the correct markup or the same as markup. Okay, I have done this exactly the same on about us. About us? I'm not sure. I'm kind of confused now.
Aboutus.org.
Well, but I don't know if that's what he's talking about. I mean, he might be aboutus.org.
Yeah, I think that's the one, because he used about.me and then aboutus.org. So yeah,
No,
those are two semantic hubs.
He's saying I have created a page on my money site about-me. So what he's doing is he created a page on his money site and put the links to all of his IFTTT properties on that page.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
And then he's saying I've done the exact same on About Us. And I'm wondering, is that aboutus.org, or are you talking about like you have an About Us page on your site as well? If that's the case, I would say only use one or the other. Delete one of those pages, because I don't know that that's the case, Richard, because I'm not real clear as to what it is that you did here. But if I would not have an About Me and an About Us page and have the same kind of content on both, I just wouldn't do it. And to be honest with you, you could link. Having all your links on an About Me page, that's fine. But you could also put them in the a sidebar widget or a footer widget. We've had this question come up recently a couple times, but people ask about you could use the Gravatar widget if you have it, or you could use a plugin I've always used called Social Stickers, which allows you to enter in a whole bunch of your different Web 2.0 social media properties, and it will add the their icons, and it'll give you a widget that you can put in a sidebar or a footer. Typically, that's how I'll do it. But remember, if you've got a marked up in the header, like in JSON LD markup structured data, you don't even need them linked on your site. It doesn't make any difference. If you have your same as attribute, other than you can push juice through to your other properties. But if you have them marked up in the same as attributes at the top, you're still going to get basically the same result. Okay.
Yeah, I think he clarifies later when he says, I'm not sure if this will have any value, but as far as I can tell, well, already have back links from About Us, although this is no follow. So he put them as no follow.
So he is talking about us.org, I bet.
Yeah.
Because aboutus.org, guys, that's a very powerful property that you can use to push, like, even though there are no follow links, it is a very valuable property. So if you're using aboutus.org, that's great, Rico, or Richard, because that's a good property to use. And you should probably see a bump in your Ahrefs metrics from it, because it's a strong property. So, all right, we got time for about one or two more, guys, and that's it. Hey, guys, my hosting company changed my URL to a HTTPS. Okay, so you're using SSL. How can I make sure that all the URL names will be the same? Do I have to change every page? I'm asking you because when I look at the snippets in Google's results, the meta descriptions are not the same for HTTP and HTTPS. What about the feed address? Okay, so every time I've had to switch a site from regular to SSL, I have a person I use on Upwork to go in and edit the sites and handle all that shit for me, because it can create a hell of a mess. But you can go into your settings, your WordPress settings general, and you can change your site address in there to add the S to the HTTP. So settings general, you'll see your site address at the, it's one of the first couple options at the top of the WordPress page there, and you switch it to HTTPS. Just keep in mind that can cause all kind of CSS issues. It can, that's why I always there's a guy on Upwork that I hire every time I have to do that, and I just hand it over to him, say, here, fix this for me, and he does it for me. Because otherwise you can have CSS issues, you can have internal link issues. So just keep that in mind. There's also plugins that say that they do that for you, that they handle all that. Like I think one of the plugins is HTTPS protocol is the name of it, I think. If not, just go search Google for HTTPS or SSL, whatever plugins for WordPress. But I can't swear to any of them because again, I don't handle any of that. I have somebody else do that for me. Anybody else want to comment on that?
Yeah,
no,
I've had. Go ahead, Mark.
The one thing that I do see is he definitely needs to go into the htaccess file and redirect up to the SSL version of the URL.
Yeah.
Just because it's going to create like 3 or 4 different versions of the website, all with duplicate content. And of course, canonical changes to HTTPS. So he's better off just hiring someone to avoid the headache.
Yeah, that's what I do. Just go to Upwork, guys. You can get it done for cheap. You know, a couple hours worth of work, pay somebody, you know, $7, $8, $10 an hour, something like that. Somebody that's decent with WordPress. And, you know, even if you're paying them $15 an hour and you take them 2 hours to do it, it probably wouldn't even take them that long, but that's $30. That's $30 well spent. Save yourself a whole bunch of headache. That's why I don't do it. It's just too much headache for me. I just hand it over to somebody that knows what the hell they're doing. Say, do this for me. I pay them. It's done. Okay. What about the feed address for RSS IFTTT recipes? I don't think it should matter. I don't think so, but I'm not 100% sure because your RSS feed would change as well to also include the S, but I don't think it would matter. I think the old URL should resolve to the new anyways, but test it. Once you get that HTTPS fixed on your site correctly, you know, once it's done right and you know that it's completed, then just check your feed. If it looks like it's going to cause issues, then just go update your recipes with the correct feed URL. All right, I'm going to answer this one, and I'm going to touch on Ethan's very, very quickly, and then we're done, guys, because we're almost out of time. I'm seeing on Evernote public notes the outbound links are not a typical hyperlink. They're a curious-looking redirect of sorts. Is this worse than even a no-follow hyperlink? No, it's a redirect. They're not quite the same as a, you know, just a direct link. There's obviously some loss there. You'd have to actually check like redirect-checker.org or something like that to look at the header codes to see if they're follow, no follow, whatever. It really doesn't matter, because you're still passing some authority from Evernote. Okay, and Evernote notebooks rank, which is crazy.
Yeah, sorry about that, but he needs to check that on where it goes. Just drop the URL in there and see whether it's a 301 or a 302.
Yeah, you like where it goes. I like redirect-checker.org. we always end up battling over that. Last one, Ethan Rocker says, "Hey guys, do WordPress pages populate feeds?" No, Ethan, not unless you add a plugin to your site called. There's one called RSS includes pages that will insert pages into your feed. I don't recommend that though. There are probably some other plugins now. I just don't ever add pages to my feed anymore. I did years ago, and that was the plugin that I would use was RSS include pages. But then you would also have to install another plugin, and like I said, there's probably a plugin that does all of this now. But like exclude categories, and so I could set up rules and say, okay, there's certain categories that I don't want pages to be syndicated, so that I could like eliminate pages like contact us and about us from being syndicated, those types of pages, privacy policy, terms of service, that kind of stuff. But no, by default, WordPress does not send or will not add pages to feeds. Pages, RSS feeds are for posts, but you can make it work by using plugins. Okay. If this is indeed the case, what would be your advice on building links to older pages via IFTTT network? Well, I would just do posts on the site. I would just add additional content as posts and then point links, contextual links from within the post to the pages. That's what I mean. That's the IFTTT SEO strategy right there, right? Is you use the blog to build links to the pages on your site. So that's what I would do. I wouldn't worry about syndicating the pages. I would just add more content via the blog and link to that those pages that you want to rank. Would it be safe to just copy and paste the content from all my pages and move them over to posts as long as I keep the URL the same? Would this have any effect on rankings? No, it shouldn't. If the URLs are the same, it shouldn't make any difference. But that's just way too much manual work. To be honest with you, if you really want to if you just want your pages to be syndicated for whatever reason, instead of just using the blog to build links to those pages, which is what I recommend. But if you want your pages to be syndicated, just use the RSS includes pages plugin, and then use the other plugin that was called Republish. I should have this saved as a bookmark because I always look this up. Post WordPress. There we go. It's the first link. Republish old post WordPress, and you can use this plugin to basically republish old posts. And if you have RSS includes pages on your site, then it should republish old pages too. Okay. We're out of time, guys. Sorry about not getting to all the questions, but those were some good questions. We got to as many as we could. We thank everybody for being here today. No masterclass or mastermind. Go ahead, Renan.
No, sorry. No worries.
No masterclass or mastermind this week, but we will see you guys next Wednesday for Hump Day Hangouts.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Okay, guys. Thanks for being here.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.